Bob, the one thing that people want to know is, well, first of all, why did you love this aircraft? And secondly, what were the flying characteristics of this aircraft?
You had such a good view from this helicopter when you were flying it. It was one good thing about it. And it was so smooth flying it compared with the Hup, which I flew before. But this one here was just as smooth and the good instrumentation. You had no problems with the sight from the thing looking out on both sides of it. And it was just a nice airplane to fly.
So what was a typical mission on this aircraft looking for submarines?
Well, we had 6 in the carrier, and we used to deploy them 2 at a time. So and again, we were only flying during the daylight hours, so we were called sundowners, and from the tracker people. And we would then take off 2. And we would be positioned in front of the destroyers or the aircraft carrier, one on each side. And we'd sit in a hover. The ball would be in the water about 75 feet down. There's a 100-foot cable on the...
The ball is the sonar ball?
Sonar ball. Yeah, sonar ball.
Okay.
And we would then sit and try to detect submarines. The best about those, submarines did not like helicopters because you could never tell where the devil they were. They could hear you when you're in hover in the submarine, but they wouldn't know where you're going to go next, which was one good thing about them. So we would do about 1,000-foot jumps at a time, all over one way and one way. And we had, the pilot would be flying here, the co-pilot, he'd be doing all the navigation, and you would tell him where you wanted to go. And we would then jump from one position to the other all along for, well, this aircraft could get 4 hours out of it, but we would never stay out 4 hours, usually on about an hour to 2 hours at a time, especially when you're down south when there's heat and no wind. You had a problem staying in hover, and you had the collective up underneath your armpit just trying to sit in hover. And then the sonar operator then, you were sitting here as a captain of the airplane. You had to listen to what your sonar operator was talking about down below. You had to listen to what your co-pilot was saying, where you should go next. You had to listen to the ship to tell you where you were going to be jumping. You had to listen to the tracker that was sitting over your head. And then you had to listen to the Argus that was sitting over him again, so you had to know where everybody is. This is why they put the big numbers on the helicopters, because the ships couldn't really see. You look at the color here and look at the color of water, there's not much difference in the colors. So you had to also make yourself little turns now and then to see where the ship was. It wouldn't run you down. You had a problem that way.
That's because you're out in front of them looking for submarines.
Yeah.
Wow. Typical number of crew on a submarine warfare?
In helicopter, 3. 2 pilots and a sonar operator.
And the pilot has to keep track of all of these players at once. All
at once, yeah.
While
flying the helicopter. I mean, your feet are going on the pedals. You got your collective here and your cyclic, so you had your both hands and your feet going, and you had to be listening to what everything else was going on around you.
So we have the doors off today. When you were flying, did you fly without doors?
No, the doors are on, but usually they're open, except on the co-pilot side. He usually has his closed because of the noise level from the exhaust down there. And he had to be listening too. So he had to talk to you.
At the same time?
Yes.
Now, is that over the comm, or did you keep one earphone off so you could talk to each other up front?
No, everything was all over the intercom.
Through the comm.
Yeah.
So the exhaust is coming out on the port side here.
Yes.
You can see it. Is that the reason that the pilot is in the right-hand seat?
Right, yes, especially nighttime. Nighttime over land, we fly over land, but at sea, you didn't do any night flying at sea, especially when you were down south, because the exhaust on that side and the amount of moisture that the whole cockpit looked like the inside of a dirty milk bottle. And we tried it one night, the CO and I, we went off and got off from the ship and looked around. We couldn't see anything. We had to stick with our head out the window, looking to where we were going, get around the ship and back on and say, fine, thank you, but no thank you. You would never go to a hover.
What sort of decks have you flown off in your career?
Well, 3 different carriers. Most of the helicopter carrying destroyers at that time, submarines. I've landed on submarines.
You've landed on submarines?
Yes.
Can you describe landing on a submarine?
Well, the one I can remember was America's biggest submarine, and we had to go pick up people that went over and land. There was lots of area there, but usually with a submarine you hover over and pick people up with a hoist. But that was one aircraft or submarine I did land on.
Do you remember what the name of the submarine was?
Triton.
Oh, it was Triton?
Yeah.